The Lehigh Valley offers a lot of great opportunity, but there are reasons that people do not like it here. So these are the 10 reasons you should not move to the Lehigh Valley. The first reason is definitely traffic. It's the biggest complaint that I personally have while living here, and I hear people all the time. So it's not gonna be as bad as, in the middle of Manhattan, but ask anybody who's been stuck on 22 to and from a work commute, especially around, rush hour traffic before and after work, we can get extremely busy. The main cause of this is because the infrastructure of the roads were built way before a giant surge in population. So they just weren't built for as many cars that are going to and from. Also, with the surge of population and people commuting to and from, New York City, New Jersey, and just the population surge and growth that we've had, there's a lot more cars on the road and our roads just can't handle it. So sometimes you do end up getting stuck on sit-still traffic. Now, depending on where you live and work, so mainly this is going to be a problem if you live here and you work in New York, or you live in, say, Wind Gap and work in Allentown, and you're commuting for a far drive. That's really where it's going to be an issue. If you live 10-15 minutes from your work, it's really not that big of a deal. But when you were driving, especially some roads, like I always bring up 22, 22 is known to be sitting in sit-still traffic. So I just try to avoid 22 as much as possible. There are areas where you can take 78 instead of 22. Talking to people like myself who have lived here for most of their lives can help you learn your route for work and learn, where you want to live in relation to it, because you don't want to pick the wrong area. And again, be living in, say, Wind Gap if you work in Allentown, especially if you're going to be going to and from the office 5 days a week, right at rush hour traffic, because you will have to leave your house early. Now, the second reason kind of goes hand in hand with that. If you heavily rely on public transportation, you're not going to want to move here, at least to a majority of the areas. So unlike New York, Philadelphia, and a lot of these other bigger cities, we do not have a really robust public transport system. And now we do have the Lanta bus that we've talked about before, which stands for the Lehigh and Northampton Transit Authority. I think I got that right. Lanta bus. A lot of us will call it the LAN bus for short, but there is a public bus that runs. Now their stops aren't super robust. I do see a lot of people using them and hearing about them, especially in, Allentown, Easton, in these more populated areas. But if you're more out in the suburbs, or even worse, out in the rural areas of the Lehigh Valley, they're far and few to come between. So if you're gonna live in, Center City, Bethlehem, or Allentown, yes, there is the bus and you can rely on that. Or if you're going, and say you live, let's pick Easton or Allentown or whatever, and you're commuting to and from New York, yes, there is the bus to take. But the general, hustle bustle kind of thing, like a subway, the buses system isn't as robust as other areas, and cabs and stuff are not that popular. So if you're into public transport, you're going to have the Lanta bus, which you should look into if that's important to you, and you're going to have to highly rely on things like Uber and Lyft if you are not a driver. All right, reason number 3, why we do have a very, very, and I mean very strong job market, depending on what field you're going into, there can be high competition. So my brother-in-law works in the health field. I won't say specifically what he does, but he works in the health field, and the health sector is a very, very popular work sector in our area. So he works there, and especially in the entry level of the health sector, because it's one of our most popular job sectors, it is very competitive. So he's having a hard time finding jobs to move up that ladder. They're there, the opportunity's there. It's just going to be a lot more competitive than in other areas because, again, it's our most popular sector. So depending on what work you do, why there is a lot of opportunity, there's a lot of competition. So you have to weigh the benefits. So if you're not coming here with a job specifically in mind or getting a transfer, you should probably start looking into your job options soon, because if it's, again, something like the entry-level health sector and you're not an RN, registered nurse, then it's going to be hard to get in at entry level. Now, that being said, if you are above the entry level, those job opportunities can skyrocket because they pay extremely well here and have a lot of opportunities for registered nurses, especially traveling nurses. I have somebody who's going into traveling nursing, and she's been an RN, registered nurse, at Lehigh Valley for a long time now, and she's getting a significant pay bump just because they do not have a lot in that field, which is going to help her propel her field and get her a significant pay bump. So again, the job opportunities are strong, but with strength comes a lot of competition because we have a lot of people moving here specifically for jobs. Now, my team helps a lot of people who are thinking about buying and selling here in the Lehigh Valley, buy and, well, sell here in the Lehigh Valley. Now, my team gets a ton of calls, emails, texts, smoke signals, though those are kind of inefficient, from people who are thinking about buying and selling here in the Lehigh Valley. So if you're thinking about making a move here or just want more information, please feel free to reach out to my team. We're always glad to help. Again, that's going to be in the description and the comments below. Please reach out. We would love to help you. Now, reason number 4 is definitely going to be the utility costs. Now, in other videos, like my pros and cons of living in the Lehigh Valley, which if you have not seen that, go and check it out. But after this video, watch this video all the way through, then go watch that video. It's going to be a good one, I promise. But in that video, I talked about how the utility costs are very good compared to other areas. So now why am I saying don't move here because of it? Now, while it's good compared to other areas, I'm mostly talking about during the winter and summer because we get extreme temperatures. Now, especially if you buy an older house, say a pre-war house that has oil heat, you're definitely going to be paying a lot more in oil to heat your house during the winter. So those extremes, because again, while overall in a generality, they are very good, you can get high utility costs during the winter compared to somewhere that doesn't get as hot of extremes. Because with winter extremes, it's gonna cost a lot more to, heat your house. So you're gonna end up paying more for heating, cooling, and other stuff just because of, well, the weather and other things. I'll say that the electric cost is definitely more expensive than other areas I've seen, but again, it's fairly good compared to other areas. But also I've heard that Pennsylvania, just as a whole, the utilities are higher. I always hear that we're better than Jersey and New York, but if you compare us to places like North Carolina and Florida, I hear our utility bills are fairly higher around here. Now, this one's a big one. I suffer from this. It's gonna be allergies. If you suffer from allergies and you're in a place that doesn't have a high pollen count, you're definitely not going to want to move here. Now, especially in the first week of spring or the first week of fall or winter, whenever the season changes or the weather changes dramatically, there's a high pollen count, and compared to other areas, it is definitely above the average. So if you have high allergies and you're bothered by allergies, it's not something that you can deal with. Of course, there's medicines and stuff, but nobody wants to have to take an allergy pill each day. Just keep in mind that your allergies are going to be at a high level here compared to other areas. Because again, we are much above the average pollen count here. So especially during those season changes, you're going to feel your allergies. I feel them. Now, mine aren't that bad, but there are people who have left this area purely because of their allergies. So keep that in mind. Reason number 6, the next reason, is going to be the winter weather. We kind of just talked about it in the last one, but I mean in more detail. So if you're not the kind of person that likes it cold, likes snow, likes ice, or you've never driven in the snow or ice before, you should ask yourself if that's something you want to move here for. Now, I've grown up in it my entire life. I'm used to it. While I don't like it, I definitely prefer the summer, like it is now when I'm recording this. The winter time, doesn't bother me as much as it's gonna be from somebody that, say, has never driven in the snow. Say you're moving here from California or New York or Texas and you've never seen snow or driven in the snow, that is definitely something you want to be prepared for at the very least. Now again, depending on the area of the Lehigh Valley, we can get higher snow rates, lower snow rates. So it really depends on where you live, of course, but especially if you're going up north into the Pocono Mountains, we can get a large snow footprint. So keep that in mind if you're thinking about moving near the Lehigh Valley. If you absolutely hate snow, this isn't going to be the place for you. Now, the next reason is going to be rapid development. So if you're looking for a more rural area, there are definitely still options for that in the Lehigh Valley, but a lot of the rural areas and suburban areas are getting developed. So they're putting in big projects like warehouses, but they're also putting in new construction communities. So You can go back. I remember when I moved here 10, 15 years ago, there was big sections of cornfield that are now Walmarts, Targets, new construction builds, warehouses. And if you go back even before that, I'm sure, talk to anybody that's lived here for a long time, they develop things really fast and they're going to just keep doing it. So that annoys some people. If you buy a house in the wrong area and you're not in touch with somebody that knows what's going on, like myself, you can get caught off guard when you buy a house seemingly out far away from the city, and then they put in a new warehouse across the street, or they recently bought one of my favorite golf courses and they're going to terraform that and put warehouses on it, which I'm really sad about. So that is definitely one of the cons of living here, is the rapid development. While it's good for the economy, and that's why the economy and the population is growing, with that is the downside that a lot of the rural areas and the suburban areas are getting more modernized and developed very quickly. So this doesn't affect me getting up into my old age. I like to be in bed early, but for somebody that likes to stay up and drink and party, go clubbing, maybe go bar hopping, there's gonna be less options than some other areas. So the lack of nightlife is definitely a huge reason not to move here if that's your scene. We definitely have one of the highest amounts of breweries and wineries per capita than most other states, but if you're looking at clubs, things of that nature, we just don't have a lot. Again, there are some, but compared to other areas, it's not our scene. As a city, we like to go to bed early, I guess. Now again, don't let that deter you. There are definitely, depending on the areas you want to go, there are areas in clubs and in bars you can go to. Just know there's not going to be as much as some other areas. So keep that in mind. If that's your scene and you want a lot of options, maybe don't move here. Here's one, especially me as a realtor, I'm driving around helping people buy and sell. I notice this all the time. It's going to be inconsistent cell service. So for inconsistent cell service, what do I mean? I mean, it doesn't matter what carrier you have, though some are definitely stronger than others, and depending on what area you're looking to move to in the Lehigh Valley, I can let you know. I have a resource that shows you what covers what, and just from personal experience, I can tell you what areas are better covered by what service providers, because I've had them all, and I travel a lot. But nothing sucks more than hitting dead spots. And in the Lehigh Valley, we have a lot of dead spots. Now, again, switching carriers can definitely help that in knowing what carrier is best for what area. But if you're traveling a lot like me, going to a lot of areas, I can hit a decent amount of dead spots. And that sucks for, well, really listening to Spotify in the car or my GPS and that kind of thing. So keep that in mind. We do have a decent amount of dead spots in the city. And again, I can help you know what areas are dead spots to what carriers, if that's something that's important to you. It does get on a lot of people's nerves though. So keep that in mind. Okay, and the final reason, if you're somebody that likes to go to the beach, once, twice, 3 times a week, we might not be the best area for you. The closest beach is a couple hours away. I believe it's in Jersey, and even those beaches aren't that good. We are close to Atlantic City, and that's one of the benefits of living here, is we're so close to a lot. Fun fact is we're within a 90-minute drive of, I believe it's like 75 or 60% of the population. So we are within a good drive for a good bit, like most of New Jersey, New York, Washington, DC, Philly. But if you're a beach person, we don't have any beaches here, and the closest ones are going to be a couple-hour drive. So if you want a beach nearby, it's a no-go for the Lehigh Valley. Thank you for watching. If you found any value in this, like and subscribe. And again, if you're thinking about moving to the Lehigh Valley, please reach out to my team. We help a ton of people buy and sell, so we'd love to help you. I think if you like this video, you should watch the video that's on screen now. It's definitely going to give you more of an idea of what it's like to live in the Lehigh Valley. Hope you guys have a great day. Thank you so much.